Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Free Tifos, where I take old stories I've narrated and update them to modern audio standards. This particular story is called None Remain, written by Chicken Vet. Gentle beings, honored members of the Grand Assembly, friends, today we have gathered to commemorate the anniversary of the end of the Scourge War. We have come to celebrate the galactic victory and to remember the fallen. I am known by many monikers, but I have no name. Among my people, the Seth, individuals do not take names until they reach adulthood. Our chosen names have deep import and speak of the heart of our being. But in every generation, there are 5 who are destined to be nameless. These 5 are exceptional beings, chosen to dedicate themselves to a life of service, bringing the greatest good to the most people. They are addressed not by their name, but by their duty, for that is who they are. Every nameless has become legendary. It is both a great honor and a great burden to be chosen. I am such an individual. My life is one of duty. I've come to carry out my vital duty today. I will remind you of the hero species. The Seth have a tradition as old as our earliest records. When a group distinguishes itself by an act of heroism, it is remembered. We have many hero towns, cities, nations, and even hero planets. This is a tale of the first and the only hero species. We owe them everything. None remain. The Seth first encountered them 3 centuries ago. We thought them barbaric, overly aggressive, but they said that they were happy to leave us alone in return for quid pro quo. We traded with them to some extent, as did all of their galactic neighbors. Their aggression scared us, but we were never its target. The Assembly became aware of them for their actions in the First and Second Voran conflicts 2 centuries ago. The Voran had invaded Seth space, subduing our colonies and enslaving our people. Our neighbors did nothing to help us. When the hero species traders jumped to our homeworld to find it under occupation, our population subjugated, they vowed to return. We did not think they would. My grandfather was a child then. He used to tell stories of the Voran ships burning in the sky, the orbital drop pods slamming to the surface and discharging troops. He told me that he still had nightmares of the brutality with which they destroyed the Voran. They were not cruel or sadistic, just utterly ruthless, calculating. He also told me of the monster in combat armor kneeling down to give him water, food, and candy when they liberated the internment camps. They drove the Voran off our worlds. Then they helped us rebuild. They rebuilt hospitals, food production and distribution centers, schools. They rebuilt roads, helped us re-engineer technology the Voran had suppressed. They retrained our skilled workers and even rebuilt our cities. They took a shattered people and made us whole. When they left, they did not want us to be reconquered. So they gave us a fleet, just gave us an entire battle fleet for us to use. None remain, but that fleet still stands. My grandfather became a journalist, and he once asked one of their leaders why they did this. Why did they start a war with a species they had no quarrel with, to help a species they barely knew? The leader seemed confused, but answered, "We had to. It was the right thing to do." The first foreign conflict made the assembly take notice. Watch them to see why the Voran suddenly no longer had control of almost 24 systems. When the Voran struck back against us both, you saw what would cause you to condemn them. We were more capable then, but the Voran had grown stronger as well. None of that mattered to the hero species. They struck back after the first blow. Our joint fleets pushed into Voran territory. We were angered at finding an empire built on slaves. But our allies, they were furious. The Seth fleets could barely keep up as they tore through the Voran, liberating slave world after slave world. They would not stop. When they reached the capital, they reduced the Voran to primitive, barely capable agrarian society. The hero species had a term for this. They called it bombing them back to the Stone Age. This brutality shocked us, but we admitted it was somewhat deserved. The assembly was horrified and barred them from membership. 50 years ago, the Scourge came. It struck the worlds of the assembly with no warning and no mercy. Entire systems were lost in days as a swarm poured through the galaxy. In this time of need, the hero species offered its aid to the very body that rejected them and denied them a place in galactic society. What kind of species would do that? Now, none remain. They were not integrated into the assembly fleets, but they fought anyway. I personally have witnessed more acts of their heroism than I can count. On one of my first deployments as a nameless, I was known as the Agent, and was tasked with collecting vital intelligence on the Scourge. It is well known that the information I gathered saved countless lives and helped forestall the swarm. What is not known is that 300 of the finest soldiers I have ever seen died extracting me from that world as the Scourge took it. I still remember the last survivor of that unit throwing me into the dropship as it took off. I can still hear his defiant scream as the ramp closed and the swarm took him. Even the drone pilot on that ship sacrificed itself, maneuvering the vessel to protect its occupant from enemy fire and sustaining critical damage in doing so. Even their machines were heroes. Now, none remain. 2 decades later, as the Admiral, I oversaw the evacuation of Bennett Cluster. I was 3 jumps away, protecting the rendezvous point, when the hero species' 5th Fleet reported Scourge contacts as the last evacuees left the system. I ordered reinforcements to cover their retreat. They responded in the negative, telling me that they would hold the line so that the Scourge could not chase us. Their Admiral's last transmission informed us of the last refugees were away, then simply said, "We are all in sight. Godspeed. We will resist and bite." My flag captain simply nodded and told me the Admiral was Belgian. I still do not know why that is significant. 5th Fleet is gone. None remain. When the Scourge learned that the hero species had been responsible for the greatest defeats, they targeted them specifically. Their worlds burned, yet they fought on for us. The Scourge hunted down their arc fleets. Yet they fought on. 10 years ago, only their military was left. None else remained. The Assembly excused them from service, directed them to rebuild their species. They refused. What point is there if the galaxy falls, they said. Now none remain. The survival of the First Assembly fleet at the Battle of Arcturus was widely acknowledged as a turning point. With my fleet intact, I was able to lead us to eventual victory. This would not be possible if not for the hero species. Their second and 10th fleets destroyed 4 Scourge swarm fleets passing through systems on their way to Arcturus before succumbing. At Arcturus, the 1st, 9th, and 13th fleets, all that remained of their forces, charged the incoming swarm to buy time. None remain. The last words of the captain of their sole surviving ship came as he directed his vessel into the heart of the enemy and detonated the reactor. Rage! Rage against the dying of the light. The Assembly incorporated them into our fleets, but never granted them membership. None remain. They fought against all odds to save a galaxy that condemned them as barbarous, murderous, never seeing the good they did. None remain. The Ceph-led recognition proposal has seen our long-held name for them entered as their official assembly designation. Hero species. Still, none remain. Most nameless do not know what we will be remembered for, what our purpose or destiny is. For some, it is the sum of a lifetime of work. For others, a single defining moment. Already many are calling me the nameless hero for my lifetime of accomplishments. But I know that my destiny is meant for one action, my final duty. As the 9th Fleet charged the Scourge of Arcturus, I asked the Admiral why they were doing this. He said, "Because we have to. It's the right thing to do." When I asked what I could do, he said simply, "Remember us." This is my final duty. To perform it today, I do what no nameless has ever done. I make my own moniker. I take a name. This name is ancient, possibly the first name that any of the hero species bore. In one of their oldest languages, it is the term for a single individual of their race. None remain, so I take their name. I am Adam, the man. None remain, but they will never be forgotten. End of story. I would like to thank our T5 members and patrons, Casper Arnholtz, John Creighton, Vidmori, 050, Dragzoon WRE, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.